Hey, true believers, England Teen here with another episode of Comic Book Thunderdome, Comics Division versus Captain Frugal. We ask the question, what is the best comic of the 1990s? And here's their debate. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. And the next question is, what do you think is the best comic book that was out in the 90s? And it's Division's turn to start.
Okay, I'm going with Spawn, and the reason why is because of the impact it's had on the industry. Now, you think it might be minor, but let's face it, that is the book that made Image and Todd McFarlane. I mean, Todd McFarlane was a great writer and did some amazing things at Marvel, but this is what really made him, not as a artist, but as a entrepreneur. He had Todd toys because of this. Image survived because of Spawn. And because of Spawn, we got the Spawn movie, which led up to the Blade movie, which next came Spider-Man and then the X-Men. We would not have the MCU if it wasn't for Spawn and Image Comics. It really changed the industry a lot because of that. Like I said, Image survived because of it, and we have the MCU because of it.
Frugal?
My turn?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to start by saying good try to my opponent, but there's a lot of mistakes there. First of all, let's be honest. How many of you can really remember many stories from Spawn? What impact did it really have?
Before you start, you might want to argue for your
I'm going for it. That's part of my connection here.
All right.
You might not even remember much. Yes, you remember the great art. And my debater there gave all this credit because of Image for that. But what he forgot is, before that, there was the X-Men. The X titles of the early 90s were the hottest things in comics. They launched X-Force as well, I might add. Great titles. It also had industry legends like Andy Kubert, Greg Capullo busting their chops on that. We had Cable, Strife, all kinds of things like the Legacy virus brought in. We got to see Cyclops going down the path that led him to now the craziness that he is. We also learned that Cable was in fact Cyclops' son with Jean Grey. We had lots of hits that were just unanimously awesome from there. And my debater there mentions, movies and things. I have to disagree. X-Men has video games, many more successful movies. Okay, they have more successful selling comic books, still better known today, so much that people are demanding X-Men. We're demanding X-Men back when Marvel wasn't giving it to them. And to give credit to Spawn for movies, I'm sorry, but Marvel's had movies before that. Blade,
and they were all terrible.
But you can't say Spawn was the link to Blade. That just is not true. Blade was its own design, and he deserves his own credit. X-Men was a massive thing. One of the cartoons that most kids were brought into X-Men in Marvel is because of the X-Men cartoons and the comic books that mimicked the cartoons itself.
Hold on,
those
Frugal.
exact characters.
Comics, you can rebut while he's talking too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to wait until he stops. If you do find something he's saying wrong, or you can counter argue, by all means, jump in.
All I gotta say, man, is who had their movie first? Was it the X-Men? Oh no, it was Spawn.
Yes, but Spawn was universally panned.
I think it's universally panned now, but when it came out, it was
trash.
No, I wouldn't say it's trash. Hey, man, it had Orbital doing the intro music. I mean, come on.
If you have to say your intro music is what saves you, the intro music was even better.
No, the intro music is not what saved the movie. What saved the movie is the fact that, of course, I blank as I say this.
Well, of course, because there's nothing there.
No, that's not true, man. Like I said, if the X-Men were so great, why didn't they have a movie sooner? All the Marvel movies that came out were trash. I mean, come on. Even the 70s movies, you had Jufro Doctor Strange. You had Captain America wearing a really big motorcycle helmet running around and with a plastic shield.
Right.
You had the Fantastic Four, which was dreadful, and then the Punisher, and you're saying that the Spawn movie was bad?
Yes, because you're being disingenuous. The technology wasn't there for those movies at the time, as well with the budget.
Oh, come on, man. It was the 90s too when the Fantastic Four came out, and
you're now arguing everything but X-Men versus Spawn. Just gonna get you guys back on track here.
As I said, Spawn had wonderful art, and I'm going to give it that. But look at the art of X-Men 90s as well. Had excellent artists and excellent art, but it also had good story that stuck with people and was even influencing movies today.
Okay, and time. We're going to stop right there. I'm trying to give you guys 5 minutes of debate, and I'm sorry, this is the first time, so we're working it through as we go along. Yes, by all means, it's a regular conversation, regular debate. You don't have to wait for the other to finish. Sorry if I didn't make it done. The only time that's going to be different is in the next segment, which is the speed round, where we'll give 15, then 15, 15, 15. Okay.
Black Lotus 30 would like it to be known that Spawn killed the Comics Code Authority. He's been saying that for like 5 minutes
that's
now.
True. That was the very last.
Yeah, but
it's kind of funny.
I thought it was some of the other stuff that killed it, like Vertigo.
Also, I would like to say thank you very much, Electro, who says that Frugal's right. So he's voting for Frugal's argument.
I think he was specifically talking about the Marvel movies when he said that, about which one started the MCU.
No, he meant the whole thing. Don't you kneecap me, man.
All righty, but Unranked Chevron. Let's go to Unranked Chevron. What do you think of the arguments? Who do you think came out on top and why?
So my understanding of the question was that it was just simply the best 90s comic book.
Yes.
Yeah, not which one made the better movie or whatever it devolved into.
Yeah, I know. They got way off the rails on this. So who do you think made the better argument for the comic book itself?
So I think the Comics division made a very good point about how important Spawn was when it came out, that this is what started Image. This is what made creator-owned comics a big deal. That this is what this put Todd McFarlane on the map, who would go on to help the careers of lots and lots of people. Frugal also makes a good point that the 90s were the X-Men's, in a lot of ways, it was their heyday. That was when they became mainstream. That was when they inspired cartoons, video games, eventually a whole movie series. It's still going on. But in terms of what's simply the best comic book, I think I'm going to have to give it to Frugal, because he made the better case that X-Men itself and all those spinoffs of it was just simply more important at the time. And I think it's lasted longer too over the decades. You don't really hear people, except for Captain Cummings, talking about how awesome Spawn was, but you still hear people talking about how awesome X-Men was. So I think that Captain Frugal made the better case for it. Personally.
Dalton, what do you think?
Dalton?
Oh, you cut out there. I didn't. I thought you were going.
And by all means, everybody in the comments, let us know who you thought made the better argument.
I also am going to have to give this one to Frugal, mostly because, as was kind of alluded to in my fellow judges' ramble there, impact does not necessarily equate to quality.
I would like to say that my debater is also using an avatar based on an X-Men character.
Oh,
I don't know if that necessarily counts as an ad hominem, but it definitely counts as an appeal or a
that would have been a hit. No.
So let's not.
I actually have a good rebuttal for that. I did not actually choose the Wolverine. When I had Samurai Raccoon create the avatar, he felt it was better fitted for my personality when I had it going on. So
now going to the obviously Frugal won the point since we have two judges vote on. Anya says, can anyone name a major Spawn storyline from the comics or X-Men? More people can name more important X-Men storylines than Spawn.
Well, one thing I'd like to point out too is most of the people, either you are an Avengers reader or an X-Men reader. X-Men were so interesting and good, it pulled in even Avengers readers.
Well, you don't have to fight anymore. You won.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just.
And also, before we move to the next point, I have two other things to say that aren't really relevant to anything. Number one, I
That's
think you're
always
both
good.
wrong because Sandman exists. And number two, Division, fuck you for reminding me that the 1978 version of Doctor Strange exists.
Yeah, I know.
Addressing
I
that.
love the. I'm
Fuck
wondering if
you.
we're gonna get flagged for the term Jufro. I apologize to our Jewish audience out there,
The
but
Peter Hootson Doctor Strange is beyond terms of disgrace. We can
it
say
really
whatever
is
we like
bad.
about that.
I
That
own
is-
it. I should do a review on it soon. I got it. That's it's horrible. What we got? Alexis Valens, make them give closing statements 1 minute, otherwise both will lose, get a 0. Okay, well, thank you. We'll remember that for next time because we're gonna go at a speed round here, and I gotta say I like this. I like this is a lot of fun. I know we've only got 34 watching compared to the Yellfest with John Mallon when we had him on was 63, but I still gotta say I'm enjoying this, and I hope we do more.
Hey, and
as
to your
well.
credit, Frugal, I would have picked X-Men if I actually read X-Men in the 90s.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I didn't read a whole lot of it either.
Really? Oh my gosh! You know what? That's bad because that's actually not good for what's coming up. You guys are gonna die on this one. Maran, you're saying she was more of an Avengers reader. Richard Simmons, Fro from Ole Sammy, just aging yourself right there, man. Joe says always been an Avenger reader, but 90s X-Men was great. I agree.
Mhm.
I like the X-Men in the 90s as well,
I
up
would
until
pick it
about
up here and
95.
there, but I was a diehard, Avengers,
Yeah.
Hulk, Captain America. But I would pick up a few X-Men here and there. But I was never a diehard X-Men fan.
The
Okay,
question
here's
was about
the
quality,
thing.
and nobody really made reference to quality. It kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, you were talking about more
But
about.
I was trying to go with the cultural impact argument. More
Yeah,
so
you
than
guys went
the
more
book
for
quality.
impact, and then you went off the rails. And I'm sorry, I'll have to rein you in next time, and just remind you we're
Impact
arguing.
is an equivalent to merit.
Well,
Yeah,
I
we're
don't
talking
necessarily
about
agree
comics and
there.
not movies.
Right, but that spawned those things. So we're talking the greatness of that comic. That comic was so great it created these other things. So I give Comic
I would
Division
have gone.
credit for
Yeah,
I
that.
but
would
that
have
doesn't
gone
necessarily
Spawn.
logically follow.
Spawn was so badly written, he had to bring in 3 different writers 10 issues in. That would have been my.
And that was the point I was avoiding.
Yeah.
Well, I
Also,
did
the
mention
Michael
Michael
Bay
I
Bay
mentioned the
movies
art was
had an
not enough.
impact, and let's
Right.
not.
I
make
mentioned the art
arguments
was not
about-
enough. It mainly was art for that book.
Yeah,
But
but,
the
you didn't hammer it home.
Okay.
You guys are the experiment for this, and I have a feeling the arguments are going to get better the more these shows go on. And I hope that Nightwolf Plays and Mr. E are somewhere around listening, because they're going to be the next 2 fighters on Sunday, which is going to be the normal night for Comic Book Thunderdome. So we'll check that out. And I agree, Leonard, Sandman, Cerebus, Supreme, Bone, Kingdom Come, Marvels. There are so many things I would have picked before these 2 books, but that was their choice. So there you go, gang. What do you think is the best comic book of the 1990s? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget, defend your answer. That's what Comic Book Thunderdome is all about, the argument. Anyway, let us know, like I said, in the comments below, but also don't forget to click like and share the video to get word out about the channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 by year's end. And if you haven't done it yet, subscribe. Make sure that your notifications are on all and ring that bell. Cool things happen around these parts, and that's the only way you're going to get notified about everything. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi. Just drop $1 in the tip jar. Or you could go to Ko-Fi and commission a video. You just pick the topic and the subject, and we'll get that video out to you ASAP. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that. And to everybody, all the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.